Now, MSNBC is the best example of this. That is owned by Comcast, which owns NBC News, and NBC News produces MSNBC. If you watch that channel, you will get a steady stream of America is evil. The United States has always been bigoted. Blacks don't have a chance. Minorities don't have a chance. White patriarchy is ruining our country. Day in, day out, nonstop. What are you doing, NBC? Right back. If you thought booking your timeshare was difficult before, you know it's almost impossible now. For more than a decade, Lone Star Transfer has helped thousands of owners legally and permanently get out of their never-ending timeshare fees. Lone Star Transfer guarantees the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. For free, no-obligation consultation, please call 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
This hour, the Vic Porcelli Show, brought to you by Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor for all your roofing needs. Visit ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER Roofing.com. Vic Porcelli.
Come on, you're Italian. You understand.
Every day is a busy day all of a sudden.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
Tough and smart, and I love Italian, so, he's definitely Italian.
At least I have this show to come and talk about it and let some stuff up.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Good morning, freedom lovers. Good morning, Quentin.
Good morning, Vic.
How are you, baby?
It's been a minute since I've been on this board.
I love it, love it, love it. Ken is still away with his lovely wife, visiting his lovely daughter. And Ken Williams can't just go away and relax. It's just not in his DNA.
Never is.
He has done nothing but get in touch with me, and he's been texting me.
He was sending me emails at 1 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
It's 1:30.
Yeah. Yeah. That's his bag, man.
Take your day off.
That's his bag, in the middle of the night. But he can't seem to just relax and not think about the station. And that's why we love him. So today, big Monday show. Heritage Foundation and Daily Signal's Rob Bluey coming up in just a bit. That's crap at 9:25 today. So Ward Clark, who writes for Red State, we love him. We've had him on the show a couple of times. He's the guy on Red State. When you see his little picture at the bottom of a story that he's written, he looks like he might have killed 20 Chechnyan rebels in his life. And I asked him about it. He says, no, but I'm trained to. I said, okay, if they need to be, then you can do it. He'll join us. And he actually reached out to us. He wanted to talk about some stories that he wrote. And anytime he wants to come on, that's okay by me. 10:25, stuff that's written on the board. Just a few different topics. And then the East Coast Report with Douglas Blair at 10:41. Quentin, who is leading us in the pledge? Is this a mystery pledge?
It is. I'm just going to close my eyes and
Hit one.
Mark Harder.
This is Mark Harder, Vice Chair of the St. Louis County Council. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Give your old Gloria a touch there. Nice. You know, I was listening to Mark. You know, I'd love to hear do the pledge for us one morning is Morgan Freeman.
Ooh.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Hey, you know, with
Wouldn't
AI
that be
now.
good? Yeah, right.
Hey,
right,
we
right.
can get anybody.
Or me.
Or you.
I can do a Morgan.
There you go.
Not too bad. All right, Rob Bluey, Daily Signal, Heritage Foundation. How are you, Rob?
I'm great, Vic. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, come on. You're part. You get us going, man. You're the coffee.
Excellent.
You're the coffee of the working week. All right, so, Rob, I need you to help me out on a couple of things, okay? One being this South Carolina primary, which I might have not paid attention. Maybe I don't pay attention to Democrats. I don't know. I didn't even know it was happening until I heard it, being talked about on the news. And Susie Moore, our very own, wrote an article I'd like to read you the headline of. If an incumbent gets 96% of the vote with 4% turnout, does it make a sound? 4% turnout, right?
it speaks to the enthusiasm for Joe Biden.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. No, I mean, it totally predictable, first of all. I mean, I was paying probably a little bit more attention than you, Vic, but I'm not surprised at all. I mean, first of all, the other candidates in the race hardly even campaigned in South Carolina, so I'm sure that the voters who did turn out, the 4%, didn't even necessarily know that Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson were running in the primary. But more importantly, I mean, look, this was done intentionally. Remember, Joe Biden is the one who completely reorganized the Democratic primary calendar to his liking, precisely so he could get a victory like this and then crow to the media and say he's, inevitably going to be reelected and everything else. So, I mean, it's exactly as was planned.
Yeah. And this 96% of the vote thing, the first thing I thought of was during COVID, right, when they were saying all the different states and how much, cases are surging, in America. Like, take Alaska, for example. It's up 50% because there were 4 cases and then 2 more. You know what I mean? So they make it sound like it was like so many people and it was 50%. Well, guess what? That was only 2 people. I think they did the same thing here.
Well, you're absolutely right. You always have to go back and look at the raw numbers and make sure that somebody isn't trying to use percentages to inflate their standing. So thank you for doing that, Vic. I think that the other thing that happened yesterday, of course, was this NBC News poll that came out that showed that Biden was in deep trouble being defeated nationally by President Trump and had double-digit deficits on the most important issues facing our country, including immigration and the economy. So, I mean, the Biden team was doing everything possible yesterday to try to spin up the South Carolina results so that people wouldn't pay attention to another devastating poll for him. So, I mean, I think it just speaks to one thing. I mean, first of all, we can expect that the Democrats are going to march toward the convention with Biden as their nominee. That's clearly going to happen. The rules basically make it very difficult to change candidates until after the convention takes place. And then that's when everyone suspects that, the polls will continue to look so bad for Biden that the Democrats will be desperate and want to replace him with somebody else. And the rules will give them, of course, an opportunity to do it at that point.
Yeah. You have to wonder who that may be. I don't know. I don't want to talk about that. So the thing about the Biden campaign, Rob, is not Joe Biden, not anybody on Sunday shows or anything else that are talking about this election. They never talk about anything good that Joe Biden does. They just talk bad about Donald Trump. Well, if your candidate's that bad that you can't talk about anything good, you don't have a good candidate.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because typically when you're a president running for re-election, you run on your record and you talk about the things that you've accomplished and all of the good things that, you want voters to return you to office for another 4 years so you can finish the job. Certainly that was the case, for figures in our lifetime, Vic, but certainly Joe Biden is taking a re-election campaign script that is, shall we say, a slight bit unorthodox in his approach. And you're absolutely right. I mean, he's made this entire election about Donald Trump, and he's got all of his surrogates doing the same thing. So it's really quite interesting, and it just goes to show that he does not have anything really that he wants to point to. Look, there have been things that he's done, and he's signed bills into law, and he, foreseeably could run on some of those, but. When you're running on the Inflation Reduction Act and,
right.
and no one in America thinks that inflation has actually been reduced,
right.
It's a little bit, of a challenge to make that case.
And what's with the strategy of just pointing at us and yelling at us at his campaign stops, He's yelling really loud. And Trump lately is very calm. So who's the maniac here?
Well, and I think that's why when you look at these polls and you look at the focus groups and other things that other media organizations are doing, and people consistently say the same thing. Number one, life was better under Donald Trump. The 4 years of Trump, and they're thinking about their pocketbooks, and they're thinking about how the cost of living and gas, groceries, rent, all of those things. Simply, it was better under Trump. And then secondly, you have all of these comparisons between the two men, and this is where Biden is failing horribly because of his mental acuity, his age, his behavior, which seems so erratic now, as you mentioned. So yeah, if you're just comparing the two and who frankly would be a better representative of the United States on the global stage, I mean, my goodness, there's not much of a choice.
Yeah. We're talking to Rob Bluey, our great friend from the Daily Signal and from the Heritage Foundation. it's interesting in the same, just to dovetail on what you're saying there, Rob. This year, it's the challenger who's saying, "Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?"
Right, and pointing back to his record in office and reminding people that, let's face it, mortgage rates were significantly less. He's even, I thought it was clever how Trump is now saying that, the gains in the stock market really are the fact that Wall Street is so eager to have him back in the White House that they're starting to rally early. So there's any number of things that you can point to, but I think that the one overwhelming issue, which is getting so much attention, and it rightly deserves it, is the crisis at the border. And I mean, we have a situation right here in Congress this week, Vic, where it seems that you have a handful of establishment Republicans who are willing to basically embrace the Biden immigration policy and codify it in law. It's shocking, and I think it's only going to frankly help Trump at the end of the day, because people do not like what they see. It's affecting communities all across this country, and they do not want more of this.
All right, so I saw a story that the Biden campaign is worried about what may come of the investigation of classified documents that he had in his possession. And, I mean, obviously the left-wing media is never going to talk about this. Do you know anything about that?
Well, yeah, we do. I mean, we know that Biden and other longtime politicians have found themselves in a similar situation to the accusations lodged against President Trump. I mean, first of all, as Tucker Carlson and others have said, I mean, when Trump is accused of something as bizarre as taking some classified documents, I mean, you really know that the deep state must be out to get you. So I do think on one hand, we probably in this country have far too many documents that are classified, and in some ways, Trump is correct when he talks about it being a bogus charge. But when it comes to Biden, I mean, let's face it, he was found holding these. So if you're going to hold one person accountable, you have to, hopefully have equal justice for both. And so I do think that there's probably some concerns in the Biden camp that this could come back to bite him. After all, if the Justice Department is going to treat them equally, they need to pursue both cases as well. And one other thing that I'll note here is, remember, Biden has served in public office basically his entire life. Right. I mean, so there's a much deeper record there to go on, and who knows what other documents he might be possessing even before his time as president and vice president.
Phew, a lot there, huh? You brought up Tucker, and just for a minute or so, he's in Moscow, and it looks like he's going to be interviewing Vladimir Putin, and Tucker Carlson, a one-man show, blowing up the left-wing media.
Oh, I'm a big subscriber to the Tucker Carlson network. It's great what he's able to do. Certainly, getting interviews with people who either have no interest in talking to these legacy media outlets, or this is what I love about him. It just the unconventional questions that he's asking people, or the individuals who are willing to talk to Tucker who will say things to him that they might not to others. So yeah, we'll keep a close eye on what Tucker's doing. But yeah, I think that independent, you and I've talked about this, Vic. I mean, it's so important to have shows like yours, like the Daily Signal, like what Tucker is doing, because you really can't trust what you're reading or seeing on television these days, simply because it seems like it falls into the same narrative that the Biden campaign and the Democratic National Committee is pushing it towards, and you need alternatives. Yeah. And so it's a good thing to celebrate.
Absolutely right. All right, let's talk about Donald John Trump for just a bit here. He did an interview with Maria Bartiromo over the weekend, threw out a couple of names, being Tim Scott and, Kristi Noem, right? What do you think about either of those as possible VP picks, starting with Tim Scott? What do you think?
Well, Tim Scott's very impressive. Obviously, he's somebody who we worked with at the Heritage Foundation on a number of pieces of legislation over his tenure. He filled the seat of our former Heritage Foundation president, Jim DeMint. And so, somebody who is impressive on a whole host of levels. And I think the other thing about Tim Scott is just his personal story is very compelling. I mean, very much living the American dream. So, impressive guy, and I'm not surprised that he's on Trump's shortlist.
Yeah. And how about Kristi Noem?
Well, Kristi Noem, obviously governor of a relatively small state, so I mean, from a electoral standpoint, probably doesn't bring as much punch. But she has been a loyal MAGA soldier now for a number of years. She's an individual who I think has aspired to greater ambitions, and she comes from that Midwest background that I think probably at the time when he selected Mike Pence in 2016, was appealing, to some of those conservative audiences that wanted to know somebody who had a track record of getting things done.
Absolutely right. And I never thought it was right anyway. I'm not patting myself on the back here, Rob. But when people were saying, oh, he asked RFK Jr. To be on the ticket, I didn't believe that. And now he's denied that he's even asked RFK Jr. to be his running mate.
Well, RFK Jr. on certain issues, falls in alignment with conservatives. There's no doubt about that. But there are some other issues that he's not on the same page with Trump and MAGA. So I again, not surprised to hear that as well, and also think that if he's not able to catch fire at all as a Democrat or an independent, I also wonder how much political value he would bring to the ticket.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. All right, Rob Bluey, tell us about you, the Daily Signal, the Heritage Foundation, and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, it's a busy week in Washington, Vic, and we're going to be closely tracking this immigration bill, which is just bad news all around. So I encourage your listeners to visit dailysignal.com, get the latest on that and a whole bunch of other issues like Alejandro Mayorkas' impeachment. You can follow me on X at Robert Bluey.
All right. Thanks so much, man. We'll talk next week.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, we've got a big Super Bowl party happening. Super Bowl. Here's how John Facenda would say it. Super Bowl LVIII. Do you know who John Facenda is?
I do not.
He was the voice of NFL films back in the 60s.
Ooh.
He was the guy that said Frozen Tundra of Lambeau Field. When I was young, Quentin, there were two shows every week I had to watch. One was a recap of all the games, and then there was one that the entire was about one specific game.
Okay.
And John Facenda, the Oakland Raiders in 1969. He was great. Anyway, Super Bowl party happening this Sunday, of course, 4 o'clock at the St. Louis County GOP office on Gravois Bluffs Boulevard in Fenton. $50 per person. Food, drink provided. Representative Jim Murphy will be your host, and that's all happening this Sunday. Super Bowl. Football, right?
Go Sports.
Go Sports.
Stream the Vic Porcelli Show at News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
Exponentially.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The Democratic Party doesn't stand with what I stand for.
News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo for the cleaning pros at Zero Res, who are spreading the love for the month of February. We've trusted Zero Res with our home for years, and right now they have an incredible offer. Just book a cleaning in the month of February and mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $119, plus they'll throw in a free hallway, and you can take $50 off an air duct cleaning. Just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
Is your retirement income at risk if you or your spouse needs nursing home or in-home care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. The cost of long-term care is one of the biggest risks in retirement planning. For many retirees, a single nursing home stay can cause a significant reduction in assets that can permanently reduce your retirement income. Fortunately, there are affordable and flexible options available today that can help you manage the cost of long-term care. Our team can help you address the risks relevant to your retirement, including long-term care. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. I love to grill and definitely prefer using charcoal over gas. And ever since I met Jonathan Heslop and he introduced me to his product, Rockwood Lump Charcoal, I can't use anything else. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory and has been the nationally highest consumer-ranked charcoal for several years. So you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. Doesn't get any better than that. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Listen anytime.
It happens
Anywhere.
anywhere.
Everywhere.
Every day continues to bring more news.
With the News Talk STL app. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
This is Larry Connors. Whenever I'm invited to be a guest on the Vic Porcelli Show with Ken Williams, I know it's going to be a great time, even when I'm not invited. Listen, you'll have some laughs. You might actually learn something, or not. Anyway, listen to Vic and Ken.
All he had to say was, "Hi, this is Larry Connors, and you're listening to the Vic Porcelli Show." That's all I had to say. Like I don't invite him in. God, he is so hard to please, that guy. You work with him every day. I love him, but he's always making fun of me, too. All right, listen, number one for live, local, and conservative talk, we are 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Vic Porcelli. That is Quentin over there on the other side of the board. Coming up the rest of the way today, we've got the East Coast Report with Douglas Blair. Stuff written on the board coming up at 10:25. Ward Clark from Red State, he actually initiated the segment you're going to hear because he wrote some stories he thought we'd be interested in. It turns out he was right. And his stories on Red State are great. He lives in Alaska. This is a guy who lives where it's negative 30 degrees. That's not the wind chill.
Oh, no.
No. That's the temperature. I will bet you it might have been warmer on Mars than it was in Alaska. Anyway, and right now it's time for That's Crap!
Welcome to That's Crap. It's the game where we find out if it's the truth or if that's crap. Here's the host of That's Crap, Vic Porcelli.
Thank you, Jim Aldrin, very much. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Studio audience, you guys look great. As Jim mentioned, this is the game where we find out if it's the truth or if that's crap. Our contestant today was born a poor black child in a Puerto Rican neighborhood in a Greek, on a Greek street in a Puerto Rican house.